Hey there, this is Tom, Tom's Talk Show, and we're going to be talking more about the attack on 75 million Americans that the president did last week. Hey everybody, this is Tom with Tom's Talk Show, and after listening and going over and kind of reviewing and watching other videos about the MAGA Republicans and all that stuff, and that we're extremists. And I mean, have you been to Florida? Have you seen the people with their piss on Pelosi signs in front of their house? Have you been here? Because where I live, that's what's out here. I mean, there's Let's Go Brandon flags. There's I didn't vote for Biden. F you for voting for him. If you voted for him, I mean, there's all kinds of flags and banners and everything, because we're in a little bit more rural area out here. Plant City is, kind of away from the big Tampa, St. Petersburg kind of area, but and there's a lot of farmers and everything out here. So people are more, a little more self-reliant and stuff. And we don't really want or need, the government to come in and mess stuff up, because that's all. I mean, we had that problem with, code enforcement coming out telling us, you can't be courteous and kind to your friends and let them, keep their motorhome on your property for a week, and then, it was a whole deal. But less government, the less more government is out of my face and stuff, the better. So I decided I'm going to put together, I need to put together a list, I think is what I finally decided I was going to do. And as my definition of MAGA, and then we can see if do any of these or any of these ideas or things, are they seen, as extremists or crazy? I mean, I definitely, the first time, like I've said before, I didn't vote for Trump the first time because I didn't know what was going to happen with him. Right? He was a Hollywoodite. He came, from big business, so, we didn't know. The second time, I 100% voted for him. If he's on the ballot again, in 2024 and not Ron DeSantis, that's where I will be voting. So, just putting that out there now. I mean, I think, the few problems with, the Twitter and things like that, I can get over that. People are mean to people all day, every day, wherever you are. Have you even been on Twitter for 5 minutes, right? I mean, come on. So I think the first thing that I could think of course, is God first. We're a country based on godly morals, and the rules and everything that are in the Constitution. I forget who said it. One of the founding fathers said that these rules and guidelines in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and everything do not work if your constituency don't have some type of moral code, right? Which is what we see now in the far left. The moral code is completely gone. They're doing anything and everything from, indoctrinating your children to, corruption and spending and everything else in government and all that. So we need to move back, make sure that that's there. If you're not a Christian, then, I would encourage you to go find someone in your family who is and talk to them about that. If you're completely against Christianity, then, the whole platitude is I'll pray for you. But people who don't believe in it are usually offended by that fact, by somebody saying that. But I would just say, if, hit me up on Twitter or whatever, if you want to have a conversation, which I'm fully open to. I mean, I don't want to, it's not my job to judge and condemn anybody. I mean, everybody has their own little, even within Christianity, there's people with different beliefs, and we try to keep it so that, those individual small differences in beliefs don't rip you apart. I've seen that in too many churches where, oh, well, they did communion a little bit this way, so we got to split the church, No, that's not grace. And that's what, real Christianity is grace, love, forgiveness, caring, all those kinds of things. Okay, so we got that first. Okay, next is family, right? We need to get back to, I don't want to say the nuclear family, but, it's been shown study after study after study. You need a mom and a dad, if you're going to have kids, right? I mean, all these the kids in different communities that are have problems, end up doing crime, all these things. You go check back. Oh, what? Oh, fatherless home. Oh, that one's fatherless home. Oh, that one, mom and dad split up because, somebody squeezes the toothpaste in the middle instead of on the end, right? So whatever, reason, that is, right? That people split up. But we need to try and keep that together, because that really helps build the, next generation, gives them the support and the backing and the viewpoints from both sides, right? I mean, I think the most important thing for a daughter is to have a father, because that father can show her how she should be loved by the guy that she's going to marry, right? I'll care for them, take care of them, be there to support them, all those things, not anything, physical that, the next boyfriend's going to try and do, right? That's what you miss. And then when, the protecting part, like if something happens bad to them, they can run to dad and be able to just, fall into his arms, and he's say, don't worry, I'm going to take care of this. And then, take care of it. Right. Okay. So next, I'm completely understanding of the Constitution. If it's in the Constitution, it's worked very well so far for the last almost getting close to 250 years. And the Founding Fathers did amazing work based on so many documents in the past. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights are, the First and Second Amendment, just solidify what has made America an amazing place. The ability to say what you want to say when you want to say it, right? I mean, that is amazing, right? Even if what you're saying is nonsense. I mean, the community around, if you're saying nonsense, the community around you should be able to come to you and say tell you what you're saying is nonsense. So let's talk about it and get you kind of back on track. And then Second Amendment, the ability to just, I'm just going to say, defend yourself. I mean, to be able to, if you have, like a knife in your purse, for women, or pepper spray or something that you carry with you, or if you have a concealed carry and you're carrying a weapon and can stop other crimes, stop people. I mean, just the mall shooting, the one other shooting a few years ago in Texas where people had guns, stopped the shooting because they were there and they were armed, right? I mean, the last stabbing in Canada, I mean, what would have been like if somebody would have had one of those pepper spray pistols? I mean, it would have maybe saved, 8-10 lives or more. I mean, just the ability, but in Canada, you have no right to defend yourself. Somebody can come in and kill you, and you can't do anything. So it's quite crazy up there. So that is very good. All those things, that stuff is very, very good. Limited decentralized government. So I need the federal government basically reduced as much as possible. There's too much power. It's too centralized. Laws are too centralized in the federal government. You cannot government the entire United States just by fiat. You cannot just say this rule goes everywhere, right? You can. I think we're in a position now where I don't think we've ever been in a position where that would work. People in rural areas really don't want the government anywhere near them. People who are, and this is where you kind of naturally get the split of Republican. The old way you split Republican and Democrat was the Democrats were, packed in the little cube apartments in the city, And they didn't want to have to go knock on their neighbor's door and tell them to turn the music down. They wanted the government to come and create a rule that said you can't have your music so loud. That way they wouldn't do it. In the country, we're, one, too far away from our neighbors to hear their music, but if somebody needed something, somebody needed help, you could reach out. And there's just such a, better type of community out in country type living. I mean, just slightly rural. I mean, it's that way. So, I mean, I need to put a sign out on our under our mailbox out there that says, text this number for eggs, because we're going to be, we have 7 chickens. We have 1 rooster and 7 chickens, and they're all in full gear now. We got 6 eggs today. I think we got 4 yesterday. So I need to start having a way to disseminate them to my community, right? I mean, eggs, you go to the store, eggs are, $5, $6, $7 for, a dozen eggs. Well, I'll sell you some for $2 if you want to bring your own, box. I mean, that's fine. It'll be $2.50 if, I need to provide the box, because I can buy the boxes for 50 cents. But, things like that. I mean, just community things where you're working together. I mean, if we're going to be putting in our vegetable garden and everything else, so if we, have extra or surplus, knock on the neighbor's door, we got extra, this, do you want some? Kind of thing. It was grown in our backyard. We got free range chickens, all that stuff. So to have a part of government that just says we can blanket what, our rules are, I even want decentralized financial interests. So, there's definitely a need for federal military, money. But most of the other things, like the Department of Education, go away. A lot of the departments in the government can just disappear. We need one, probably agency that is there to protect the citizenry from outside, attacks and crimes, and then the rest of that we can probably leave up to the military for anything external. So yeah, because my people, the people here locally are going to know what is needed locally, right? The people in Washington have really no clue. The people who live here locally probably live in fairly normal, maybe a little bit upscale houses. The people in Washington live in, multi-million-dollar mansions. So I have nothing in common with them, and I'm supposed to somehow think that they are going to represent me. I don't think so. Number 5 here is protect the unborn. I mean, I listening to a few videos the other day, like 95% of, medical people out there understand that life is initiated at conception. Biblically, it's kind of before then, that before, God knew us before we were born. But that goes to the omniscience and the timelessness, of God. But God understands in the Bible that it's like He formed us in our mother's womb when we were hidden, right, from anything else before anybody knew. He knew, that we were there. So that definitely, even if it's not, if you don't have a religious, reason for protecting the unborn, there's just the science facts that, it's a child, it's an individual. Once those cells are put together, it's an individual set of DNA that is completely separate and independent. Well, not independent initially, right? Separate and unique is the word, I guess, from the mother, right? I mean, there's instances where I forget what it's, there's a condition where like the blood type of the baby can, not be, compatible with the blood type of the mother, and those, children, they got to have special drugs and other things to make those come to term and stuff. So even like in that, it's like, this is separate, it's just using mom to get, the first leg up. So, and I know there's, circumstances where things, happen, certain bad things happen to women because men are horrible. So there are some men out there that are definitely horrible and need to be in prison. But often that, the R word there, that often is, that's the trauma from that on a woman shuts everything down. So the real possibility of that kind of unwanted, pregnancy from that is really so completely minuscule. I doubt that it, even in 10,000, I doubt there would be one. The other part of it is the kind of like the I guess molestation versions, where it's just a really, everyone's making bad alcohol decisions or something, and things happen, right? And then it's like, oh, he kind of attacked me. Well, you need to make better decisions and not go to places. One, men need to make better decisions and not put women in that position or do anything to put women in that position. Two, women need to not go places or be there in places where men will put them in that position. Right? So it's on both sides. It's the same, but still, let's protect the unborn. Okay, equal application of the law. So if, number one is if, just even in the general politics today, if they're going to go after President Trump and, come after him with boxes of documents that he didn't even probably see or know or anything, that people are just like, oh yeah, that room, everybody's, he's got helpers that are going boxing documents and taking them places. Like, he's like, I don't know, they just took all the documents and put them over there. Who knows? Right? If you're going to put him in jail for that, or try and put him in jail for that, you better be 1,000% over on Hillary's camp and going after her for all of the known, confidential, top secret emails and things that we know of and have found about through WikiLeaks and everything else. You better be completely on her, doing the same thing to her that you are doing to Trump. Equal application of the law. I mean, it's colorblind, gender blind, everything, right? Across the board. So I think that's easy to, and other things like people who, like somebody does something violent, like in the Summer of Love area, where there were people doing fundraisers to get people out of jail. I think that needs to go away. Right? I mean, either they have the means to get out of jail or they don't. Okay. Self-defense. This is a Second Amendment thing. I kind of mentioned it already. And that in Canada, you have no ability to defend yourself. If someone comes at you and you stab them, you have a knife in your purse and you stab them with your knife, then you go to jail in Canada. If you happen to have a small thing of pepper spray in Canada, and I think what you can get up there is like bear pepper spray or animal pepper spray. But if you get attacked and you use that in self-defense, and the perpetrator gets away, police will show up and take you to jail. So that's totally, completely, absolutely insane. We need to maintain the ability for us to defend ourselves, and we need to maintain the castle doctrine, right? Like, here, this is my land, my property. I need to be able to defend that and be able to keep people that I don't want on this, and making sure. I think the big thing for me about concealed carry is it doesn't need to be any yokel can't go out and get a concealed carry. There needs to be training, right? If you're going to have a weapon, you're going to, let's get the NRA involved. Let's get them into more training classes, and a lot of different shops and everything else have, training classes and stuff. And I think that really needs to be a requirement to get a weapon. In California, I had to do this 20-question little quiz. And one of the questions is like, it's a holiday, can you shoot your gun in the air? I'm like, what? No, you can't do that. So really dumb, easy questions, right? I mean, that showed no proficiency in whether you could have that firearm and use that firearm safely and store it safely. Had no, no bearing on it whatsoever. So that I would be definitely for. But the ability to defend ourselves, even if it's I don't know, even if it's like brass knuckles or something. I mean, in some places I think those are illegal, but definitely pepper spray. I love those pepper spray guns that you can shoot 100 feet. I mean, if a perpetrator is jumping over your fence and coming at you, and you throw 2 of those balls and hit him in the chest with those, he's going to be debilitated. He's going to be down. His face is going to be burning so bad, he's not going to be able to move. Then you can 911 and get the cops there. Right? I mean, self-defense is just so important for an actively working, operating society. So, one big, huge thing that we need to, who knows if it'll ever happen, is term limits. We always need fresh people, fresh ideas going into the government. These career politicians that are getting super rich, we need to kick them out, let them get regular jobs, right? So they can understand. I mean, how can a politician represent the small business when they've never owned a small business? They've never understood what it takes to, how does this budget work? How does, you've got, procurement, you've got a buyer, you've got, items you got to have on your shelves. You got to, have things, in stock. You're doing manufacturing, and you need to build 10, widgets that you're doing, but there's like 20 steps that get you to where there's a widget, and so you have to have all the pieces available. Like, so if we need to have this gear ready on the 15th, we need to order it on like the 10th, or whatever that lead time is for that item to be there, to not slow down. Have any of these people in government ever thought about that or gone through that? I mean, myself, I've written it's ERP, Enterprise Resource Management. I've written software to do that, right, from the the ground up, to help run a business. Billing software. I've done all these different kinds of things. So it's kind of, unless you know all this stuff, you're clueless. But we need to get new blood and constantly churn new blood. So if there's good people that are there, that's good. If not, then we can get them out sooner. Right? Okay, what's number 9? Lower taxes. So the super lie that, the rich don't pay their fair share. The rich pay like most of the taxes in the country already. So, and the problem with taxing the rich people, so what happens, right, is the people who have a lot of money, typically business owners, company owners, people who are putting their whole family's existence on the line, right? They're taking the risk. They're putting it out there. They have to have insurances. They've got to have all the equipment, everything that they need, right? They're doing all this stuff. So naturally, if they're taking this huge risk, they should be able to have profit from that, so why we don't need to, penalize that. Let's not, make that a bad thing. Plus now this person has made, a few $1 million. Now you're going to start taxing for that. And this person, produces, we'll go back to our widgets. This person has a company that produces widgets, and those widgets cost $5. So now you're going to tax him another 10 or 15, 20%. So now those widgets, in order to maintain and cover that tax, because it's not just, that they make, $1 million or whatever it is from their company, but they have employees to pay, they have overhead, they've got buildings, they got, whatever else to make this widget. Now the widgets go from $5 to maybe $7 to try and cover what you're doing to them. So if we reduce what their tax burden is and give them reasons, right? I mean, they all want this, green stuff going on. Well, if they do some green initiatives, give them tax breaks based on those green initiatives. If you really want to be green. Right. My other idea, of course, is a federal sales tax. So when you get your money, there's zero federal, when you get your paycheck, you get zero federal taxes taken out. So when you go to the store to buy gadgets, buy widgets, buy, whatever that might be, then you pay a federal sales tax of that item. So IRS is no longer needed. And now you're catching some other discretionary items that are being purchased that you weren't getting before. So income from, say, people who do work and get paid under the table, that goes on all over the place in the country. You're not getting income tax from that. So if you switch it around to where it's a sales tax, that person that's getting paid under the table, that now can get paid over the table. That when that person goes to buy a couch or groceries, well, maybe not groceries, we don't know if we want to put tax on food, toothbrush, toothpaste, whatever that might be, some, you're buying, a toaster, whatever it is. That is tax. So now you're getting taxes on income that you weren't getting before. And there's many industries out there, of course, like, drug dealers and prostitution. You want to tax those people? Well, that's any heavy cash industry. Once people go to buy regular goods, then they're paying federal tax that they weren't paying before. And there have been different charts and graphs that I've seen that this would increase, the amount of money that the federal government gets, hugely. Then there's always, people come back, well, what about buying a car? It would be the same thing as now. You just buy a car, you just pay the federal tax on it. But the difference would be is that you've been getting more money in your paycheck. So however much money is taken out of your paycheck, that's for you. So if you don't need to buy a car, then you can take that money and invest it in, the stock market, or, put it away in savings that earns interest, all these different things. That puts a lot more cash. I mean, that would be a much better way than handing out all this money and stuff to people from the government. That would have been a much better way to completely flip the tax thing on its head and increase revenue and get more money into the system kind of naturally, just by the fact that people aren't paying, the heavy sales tax, the heavy, federal income tax on things. I mean, here in Florida, we pay property taxes, but we have no state income tax. So, and the government here is just run better, I think, than the federal government because they have such a nice surplus. Anyway, so that's, lowering taxes. The government, and that would also force the government to stop wasting so much money, right? If their income is getting less, then they're not going to be able to dole out money to all these real niche programs, right? That really need, to go away. Okay, secure border. You cannot have a country without borders. If it's on the map, it's got a line, it needs to have some type of methodology for getting across it, right? And everybody says, oh, the system's broken now. Well, it's the system. And until until the government changes it and tries to make it better, it's going to be what it is, and it needs to be followed. The problem with, the people in government, and on both sides, it's the Republicans have done nothing to stand up, and they'll just sit over there and say, we need to change it. And then the Democrats say, well, we need to change it. And then they just never agree, and then it never happens, which is what they want, because then the Democrats can allow people to just continue to flood in over the border, and the Republicans can say, we want secure borders, and, they just keep letting people in, so that's bad. Well, do something. You had, when Trump was in office, you had ability, to do it, and you really didn't do anything, Republicans. So, you're also to blame. All right. So I think this is my last one. Teachers need to teach and not indoctrinate. I don't remember, back in the 80s when I was in school, anything like is going on, that Project Veritas is bringing to light going on in school. The discrimination against different beliefs and age and everything of people trying to teach. I mean, that's it's not okay. It's not what we need. We need kids just to learn stuff. And I do remember back when I was in high school. This would have been in the 80s. One of the books that we had said that I think it was a science book, said that the orbit of the Earth and Moon can be so properly determined that we may one day be able to send men to the moon. So that book had been there for a good 20 years. Which, but that's what we dealt with back then. I mean, it's like this, nowadays there's like, they change a word in a book and, they got to print the whole thing and then charge you another $80 for the book. Get some realization in that whole thing. And I think the other thing is for schools is reduce the number of administrators. And don't need six-figure administrators, because evidently they're not doing what they're supposed to do, which is make sure that the teachers are just teaching curriculum. So they're part of the problem. So let's reduce that, get rid of that, as many of those, administrators as possible, and get teachers back to teaching. Okay, yes, no, this is long. This has kept on going on forever and ever and ever. It's 30 minutes now. But I think those are the things I think that, most MAGA Republican extremists are basically, wanting. I mean, that's, from what I've seen, from what I can glean from it, and just from my view, of everything, is just, those are the things that I, what I deem as important things, government-wise, family-wise, and stuff that we need, that lead to my beliefs. My beliefs, obviously being Christian, come out of the Bible, and how those apply in, real life, right? So, but do you have any other things that you want to add to the list? Do you have anything that I got completely wrong? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, getting all the way to the end. And, take care.